Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rugby Through the Leagues podcast. Hope you're enjoying everything that we're doing recently on the podcast. And to make sure you keep abreast of everything that we're doing and every future guest and every future episode that we've got, make sure you subscribe. Click that button in the little top corner. Obviously, subscribing will help make us grow and reach more and more people with the Grassroots game. And also Tier 2 rugby. Then this week, we have managed to get Adam McBurney on. So Adam McBurney has done his rounds through the URC over at Ulster, Edinburgh, little dabble at Connacht and Gloucester, but he's now found himself over and playing rugby in Romania. You've popped over there, Adam, a little while ago, about 3 months, mate. How are you finding it? And for everyone that isn't aware of your journey so far, can we enlighten everyone, please, pal?
Yeah, I guess to start off, thanks for having me on, Carl. Appreciate it. A bit about my journey. It's been interesting, to say the least, over the last couple of years. I think whenever I started off in the Ulster Academy, if you would have told me 10 years later I'd be playing in Romania, I would have been a wee bit shook by it and wouldn't have known too much about it. But wanted to say I'm extremely happy where I'm at now is an understatement, so I can't complain at all. But yeah, I started in Ulster Academy whenever I was 20, so about 9 years ago now. Came through there, played professionally there for 4 seasons. And then found out I had a Scottish grandmother, which I didn't know about. So with that, obviously, and being Scottish qualified, there was a link then to a slot at Edinburgh opening up, and I was sitting around sort of battling that second, third choice at Ulster whenever Rory Best had retired, behind Rob Herring and fighting with John Andrews. So I did that for a couple of seasons, and the thought of a new opportunity there was something that I really wanted to take on, and really enjoyed my time in Edinburgh. The people I met there was incredible, and the city, as you know, I'm sure a lot of other people know, it's got a lot to offer. So in terms of growing up and being able to experience that, I'm extremely grateful. And then coming to the end of my third year there, whenever I was going to be getting released, they'd let me know relatively early, which was good of them. An opportunity at Gloucester came to go down there and spend a few weeks there, which was a great experience, playing at Kingsholm, being part of the team that beat Leicester for away. I think it was the first time in about 17 years. And then a knockout Challenge Cup win was, again, a great experience. So really enjoyed my time there. It was short, but extremely fun going down there and knowing that you just have to do a job for them whenever you're involved and you're going down there to play. And then off the back of that came the opportunity to head across to Galway and to Connacht. And I don't think I've been blessed with the weather in terms of the places that I end up, but I've definitely been blessed with fun cities and a great bunch of boys at the clubs, and they again didn't play as much as I would have hoped or would have thought have going into that environment, but I always felt that I tried my hardest and did my best thing with all of them. So I had great experiences and don't have a bad word to say about any people out there. I'm extremely thankful for the opportunities that I did get, I guess. And then obviously again, with not playing the last few months at Connacht, an opportunity arose to come to Romania, which I guess is where I'm at now in my career.
So obviously Galway, what a beautiful... You seem to have done the rounds, mate, to be fair, in some decent places, as you said. Like, I love Galway. It's probably one of my most favourite cities to go to. If I tell anyone to go to Ireland, I tell them to go to Galway, because what a place it is.
Yeah, Galway's got so much to offer in terms of the culture, the bars. Whenever it does get a good week of weather or a good day of weather, there's nowhere like it.
It's stunning.
So, like, at around that west coast, it's just like, it's fuse upon fuse. So, like I said, I've been blessed with areas like that to be able to experience. However, I guess whenever you say you go there for the weekend, it's good fun. I'm there trying to play rugby and the wind's coming across sideways and it's pissing down on me and you're training in that and everything. So I guess you just have to embrace it. And I think if you look at Connacht as a club, it is a team of players who have came from all sorts. They've came from other provinces in Ireland or been let go from other places, and they all come together with that mentality that is about dogging it out. And whenever Connacht are successful and they've won the league in the past, that's because they're a really hard team to beat, because they're a team that's, I guess, full of dogs who are willing to embrace those challenges over there and that culture.
Obviously, Stuart Lancaster's just gone there as well, mate. So how much do you think that's going to change the Connacht way, or do you think that's going to really play into the way that they set up over there?
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't know Stuart personally, but I just probably know him as much on media as the next person. But I think for that group to have that refresher in terms of a new head coach, a new boss, and being able to bring the best out of those players, it can only do good for them. There was a lot of talent in that squad, but there was just something missing that made it all click. And I think someone of Stuart's profile will be able to come in and bring the best out of the quality in that group, which will be real exciting for them. They've got a new high performance centre and other things along with that, which they will really try to make the Dexcom, now it's called, a fortress, because there's not many teams I've ever chatted to that enjoy travelling to the west coast of Ireland, and they need a player on that as a massive factor for them.
Yeah, I can imagine, and it is a beautiful place, and it's great to see when Connacht do sort of turn up. They get some amazing results. Great group of fans over there as well. It's a great place to watch rugby, and yeah, obviously you were there for pretty much the season. Obviously you struggled to sort of get involved. You got one appearance, pretty much. Was that how that fell?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Obviously not here to sort of throw hand grenades in laps, because obviously you've still got a career. But what sort of happened there, mate? Was it just wrong place, wrong time for that move for you, or as you said, you sort of lightly touched on earlier, opinion of what they needed at the time? Was that it? And then you got the opportunity to get yourself out of that fire pit potentially before it got too bad, because you got to be playing games now, aren't you? Really?
Exactly, that's it. And I guess the stage I was at was that I didn't want to be going to another club where, whenever I was living in Edinburgh, that I wouldn't have been playing at. So if I would have known the situation, I wasn't just picking up a contract for the sake of it. I was going there with the conversations being that my game time would have been a lot higher, and obviously it went out. And then after 2 weeks of pre-season, I found out that I was way down the pecking order. What I did in those 2 weeks, I did not know in pre-season. And like I said too, there's never any hard feelings with that, but it just is what it is. And like I said, I was happy how I played in pre-season and went on. And if you aren't getting the opportunities to then put your game out there, that's just the way it is. And it's not just me, something like that would happen to you. And yes, there's probably other times you could play better and you could do different things, but I was happy with what I had offered at training, and any opportunity I got in A games or what it was, I was happy enough, and that was the main thing for me. So that happened, and the tail end of it is that you don't play, you aren't someone's cup of tea. It is what it is. Life goes on, and you look for the next opportunity, which is basically what we sat down and done, and this is where it's came to now.
How does that come about mid-season? Because obviously the Romanian season sort of started a little bit later than it started sort of the end of March, doesn't it? Because of the Rugby Europe Championships and probably a few other bits. Had your agent already put out the flyers to say that you were available, or did somebody sort of see your CV and said, actually, we need that to come over? Because you're over at Dinamo Bucharest at the minute, aren't you? So they've got a pretty well stacked side of Romanian internationals as well around. How did that call come about?
I guess so. Obviously, from that first conversation, finding out I was down the pecking order early doors, there was red flags on the wall straight away, because, like I said, I wasn't over there just to pick up a paycheck. I was over there to play rugby.
Yeah,
I was just turning 27 when I went over there. Just turned 28. Can't even remember. That's a bad sign. Just turned 21. I will say that 21. But whenever I went over there, I was at that stage in my career where you need to be playing games if you want to continue. As you know, at the minute, the way rugby is, like, you have to be playing in the shop window, or else it's going to be very hard to continue with your career. So the red flags were on the door from then, but then we said we'd give it a crack to see whenever opportunities would come up. And we thought through injury or through rotation, things would still sway my way and I'd be able to get that opportunity. And it never did. So after Christmas, then we had a chat with the agent again, and we see if there is any opportunities out there, whether it be medical jokers or X, Y, and Z. Now, if something like that does come up, you would have to then go to Connacht or your club and discuss with them the situation, how they would feel if you were to obviously leave the contract early or go away for a few months. and they would have to look at where their pecking order is in depth. Do they have cover if someone gets injured? And thankfully, whenever this opportunity came up, they were sufficient enough that they felt that with three senior hookers and one in the academy, all fit, that there would be able to be enough cover, and they were willing to release me early.
But was that literally just tear up the contract there and then handshake, thank you very much? Or is there sort of a sweetener put in place between teams? Or is it just a case of a freedom of just trying to get your game time out there? How does that sort of work on the inner side? Or do you leave that to your agent to deal with?
I guess I leave all that side to my agent. I do know the discussions which are going on and the reasons why. So it probably took me about 3.5, 4 weeks to manage to come from whenever the contract to actually get out. And that was one that there was potential of, if someone went down, that I would have been playing next, and other reasons around that. Now, obviously on my side, I'm like, I can't wait on potentials. And so it was frustrating from my side. At that time, our head coach had just went off sick. So there was discussions around that. Obviously, that it has to go through probably 4 or 5 sets of hands for it all to be cleared. And we were waiting on a hooker coming back from injury who was maybe a couple of weeks away whenever I needed to get out before that. So all this is happening behind the scenes, and you're sitting there as a player being like, where is this going to sit in terms of the contract still there and other things? So it's quite a nervy time, I guess, whenever you're going in seeing people every day who's making the decision, and the decision made, and your obviously contracts on the line elsewhere. So it's an interesting time, and then the players find out, and then they're asking what's going on, and you don't actually have the full answer yet. So there's a lot of background noise with it, but you just stay calm, stay patient, and trust that you have a good agent, which thankfully I do. That'll be able to sort things out in the background, and you just get on with your training and do your job, I guess.
It must be weird training alongside the lads that you're also hoping don't get injured so that you could still move on as well. So every time they probably pull up or grab their leg, you're probably the first one there before the medical team to make sure that they're all right.
It's funny because I can't remember who we were playing. Basically, it was the last Saturday. It was Ospreys away, sorry. And I had to travel as 24th man to Swansea. And if no one gets into that game, I was good to go on the Sunday, the day after, to leave. And the boys obviously all knew this around me, so like anytime if it was cramp or taking a knee or something, I was sitting there with my head in my hands, being like, they haven't got injured all season, bearing in mind. I was like, if this happens, like in this game, I think it was something like 40 points to 43. So the amount of running in it, I was like, this has a calf injury written all over it. So I was sitting on the side on the bench, crapping myself. All the other boys, the subs and the boys travelling, are all taking the piss out of me.
Oh, bet,
Game. It's only time it's the only time in my whole career where I couldn't actually watch some of the rugby. Because of an individual reason, but there was that side of it too.
That's madness, isn't it? So obviously, over in Bucharest now, you've gone over there, managed to get a few games already under your belt. What's the startling difference between rugby in Romania and sort of donning the shirt for the likes of Edinburgh, Ulster and stuff like that? Is there a clear difference between the league level of the teams you're playing, or is it an undiscovered gem of a league that's got really competitive?
I guess the main thing would probably be a bit of the rugby IQ and the way the game's played. So I actually say it's quite difficult in some aspects. It's almost more difficult in the pro game, and in other aspects, it's a bit off. Is the best way. So in terms of structure, not much to an attack, but in terms of physicality, you've got extremely passionate big men who are defending against a non-structured attack, so they can come and get you pretty hard. So not getting the ball flat, standing still, you get hit harder probably than what you get hit in the pro game, because in the pro game back home, you have so many options that it's hard for defenders to fly off and actually hit you man and ball or hit you in 2s and 3s. So in that way, it's different. But I think just in terms of game management, playing in the right areas, being able to manipulate defences and attack, back home, obviously, for years and years, that's been a massive go-to. But again, going to the set piece side of things, that some of the scrums I've been in have been as hard as any game I've been in back home. And
Yeah.
again, you can do these passionate Romanians or Islanders that you're playing against who are coming at all angles at times to get you in the front row. It's definitely a learning experience. So it's actually hard to adapt to that because you've been taught to do something one way from young age, 16, 17, which I guess back in the URC and Prem, that's the right way to do things. Over here, you have to adapt to what's going on at the moment and try to solve that problem. You definitely do learn the hard way.
Yeah, definitely. What's like the facilities like as well? Are they pretty well kitted out?
Yeah, so we're pretty lucky. So in that first block, anyway, initially, we had a lot of home games and we played our away games were still in Bucharest. Now we have to go to Timișoara, Baia and Cluj, which is all quite a bit outside Bucharest. So I haven't experienced that. I've heard about the atmosphere and that's pretty hostile, and I'm looking forward to going and experiencing that. But in terms of our facilities, so Dinamo Bucharest is a massive sports club, almost like complex. So there's maybe 15 or 16 different sports that go on.
Oh, okay.
So, and there's facilities for players to stay within the club there. There's a gym, there's rugby pitch, there's football pitch, handball, volleyball, taekwondo, like a lot of different things going on. So you go into the campus and it's almost like a university campus, but it's all for sport. However, we just moved recently to the Arc, which is Romanian national team rugby stadium. So we play there, and it's lovely pitch. Train there most of the week. Gym's small, but new equipment. Food's good there. So in terms of all that, it's exactly what you'd expect at a club back home or elsewhere, and it's probably 10,000-12,000 seater. Now we don't fill that or get close to it, but it's a nice sized stadium. They would play the likes of UEFA under 20 tournaments there, football wise. So it's a well kept pitch and everything's been good that way. I haven't played on a really bad pitch or anything like that.
Amazing. So obviously you went just after the end of the Rugby Europe Championships had occurred. So probably most of the squad had just sort of made their way back after that. Was did you manage to catch up with any of them about obviously their time playing for Romania during the competition and stuff, or because they didn't have the greatest of performances in the thing, but a lot of them have managed to qualify for the World Cup through automatic. But they obviously put one hell of a performance in against Portugal to end up finishing third in the tournament. Did you get a chance to catch up with many of them? Were they still talking about their trip to Lisbon when you arrived?
I guess whenever I first came in, it was very much head down every game of the weekend, get involved and get playing. So it wasn't so much about catching up. In terms of Rugby Romania as a whole, I've learned a bit about it like later on in the time here, and it's been more so chats about the World Cup and how big that is and being able to represent there. And they're obviously away in summer tour now. So in the league, there's different requirements of how many certain players you're allowed to play.
Oh, okay.
And this again to the development of Rugby Romania. So there's a certain number of under-23s you have to play in your team. I guess that's for the development, obviously, of the youth. There's a lot of players. So whenever you would have looked at our team sheet or our squad list, you would have seen like a lot of South Africans and players from maybe smaller Fiji. So obviously, if you spend 5 years in a country, you can become eligible for that country.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of players who sign 5-year contracts at a young age, who then obviously, in our team anyway, we have quite a few who's about to become Romanian qualified.
Okay.
So they signed 5-year contracts, obviously, back then, and then it obviously pays off for the national team with depth of squad whenever they become eligible. And then there's a certain amount of foreigners and then a certain amount of Romanian internationals that fill up your squad.
A really good way to get the teams to play together as well. The lads that want to come through. So that's something that I wasn't aware of as well. So that's really interesting, and it's good to hear that Romania are trying to build that. What is the sort of the fan base over there like? Is it as passionate as other places, or have they got their own little bubble that no flair, no party, sort of no pyro, no party sort of situation, or is it everyone just sort of turns up, watches the game, and goes home? What's the sort of fan base like out there?
Yeah, so I've had a couple of different experiences with. So some of our games are at 12 o'clock on a Friday. So in the afternoon, potentially do with TV rights or what it is. A lot of them's around that time or on a Friday at 3 o'clock or whatever it is. So we'd probably get between 1,000 and 2,000 to a game, would be a rough estimate. Now, with that, I believe it's free entry for a lot of them. But saying that, we played, so going back to Dynamo, Dynamo's a police team historically, is where it started from. And Steaua, who would be Dynamo's rival, and you might have heard of them in the football. It's a massive rivalry, Dynamo versus Steaua in the Romanian football. We were playing them the same weekend that on the Wednesday night the football teams were playing. So a couple of us went to the football game on the Wednesday, and it was it's not what I've ever seen before. It was like over the stadium announcer was he had this place rocking anyway, like saying all this, as you can imagine. And this is over an announcement, which was a crazy experience. But because of that, there's connections. So the fans, there's ultras obviously for the football teams. Because of that connection, that some of the players in the Romanian players in the rugby team, Dynamo and Steaua brought some ultras to the rugby game.
Wow.
And all I remember was in the warm up, and I've genuinely never heard noise like it. And this is whenever they were outside the stadium. We were just doing the warm up, and with flares and smoke and cheering. It was actually like I had no idea what was going on. It was very hostile. But we were playing at home, so I was like happy days. And you seen the Romanian players flick a switch. You could tell that like what that meant to them more than anything else. So it was small numbers, but once they get going, they get going, and it doesn't feel that there's only a couple of thousand there, you know.
That must be weird though, playing at like midday on a Friday. That must be really odd.
It was so hard to get used to at the start because Romania is 2 hours ahead of the UK. So I fly there on a Monday. Obviously still getting used. It's only 2 hours, but you still get used to it. And we were playing on a Friday. And so technically in the UK, that's 10 o'clock for me.
Yeah.
In the morning was our kickoff time. So you're leaving the hotel at 7:30 in the morning.
Wow.
To get to the hotel, to get to the ground for 8:30. Like it's very early, you know what I mean? But now actually it's great because, as you said, you've been to Bucharest and a stag do before, but so our kickoff's at 12 o'clock on a Friday. So you're finished up at 2 and you go upstairs for food and a couple of beers, and that's you done for the weekend.
Nice.
So, and now I'd be used to playing in the URC at 8 o'clock or 7:35 on a Saturday evening.
Yeah. So
your whole week is basically gone. So it's actually the complete opposite over here, is that you manage to get your full weekend. And especially now anyway, the weather, there's actually a storm here today, but it's 31, 32 degrees at the minute. Nice. I'll be like that going up into high 30s for until probably September. So being able to have your weekend in that weather is something I can't complain about.
So you given the full weekend off? There's no training. You can just go out and do what you've got to do, or do you just sort of totter in, meet up with the lads in the gym, or what's usually a weekend then?
Yeah, I guess like on a Friday after a good win, we'd head out of town, as you could imagine. There's a big. I'm a big fan of paddle tennis. Don't know if you've played much out in Spain.
Okay. No, I haven't yet. It's on my list to get done, but I should have started by now. But seems to be the new wave that everyone's playing, isn't it? Paddle. It's.
Crazy, mate. It's my favourite sport in the world to play, I'll tell you that. Unbelievable. And you can play it at sort of all levels. So there's a grip office that play a bit of that to get moving again. And there's a pool at Dynamo, outdoor pool, saunas. So you can go do a bit of recovery there, sit in the sun. So there's a lot of stuff to do, you know. Because there's, I guess whenever I was telling you about all those players coming from South Africa and elsewhere, let's say this, so I'm single, don't have kids, so my commitments are obviously very low. And most rugby clubs I go into professional is probably 6 or 7 like that, and others are a lot younger or have misses, families, kids. So in terms of getting a group together to be able to do that is a lot harder. Over here there's probably about 20 of us. There's always people who are wanting to do stuff or wanting to go out for food or do something. So in terms of free time, I guess that last block I was playing every week, so you still have a bit less free time, obviously, whenever you're playing. But now during pre-season, your free time opens up even more. So try to explore a bit of Bucharest, try to get out to the seaside towns and stuff too, and explore all that, because there is such a group willing to I guess, get around and do stuff, because we'd all just be sitting on our ones all day if we weren't.
So obviously, when it come around and you got told Romania was an option, what was your first thought? I know obviously you don't want to piss off your new teammates and stuff, but you must have thought, hold on, how did that go?
Yeah, I guess you look at, in terms of my career, like I said too, because my commitments are so low, you obviously look at the contract and you look at are you at a stage where you're willing to experience something new, and you put that together with security and the new experience, and you're like, why not? Because if you look at the rugby market back home, and I spoke about this before, it's like it's dog eat dog with the clubs going bust. And if you're a player in my situation there who wasn't in the shop window, who wasn't playing a lot, competing against other players, and there's internationals who are out of contract at the minute, still don't have a club. There's a lot still going on behind the scenes that you don't want to be out of contract this late on. So whenever that came across, I feel like I was in a position that I was blessed I was able to do that. Now, some people might have looked at it, if they had kids, misses, to relocate to Romania. It might be a lot harder, but I think this was one of those cases where it was perfect place, perfect timing for me at my career. And luckily, I'd been actually in Bucharest in November too, visiting a friend he ran a marathon in every EU city.
Oh wow!
So it was 2 a week over the course of, I think, don't want to get this wrong, he'll shout at me, maybe 90 days. So something like that. And then he finished actually with running 100 miles, Dublin to Belfast for November. So luckily I had a bit of time off with Connacht, and he was in Bucharest at the time.
Yeah.
So I came in November visiting. So I obviously knew a bit about Bucharest and how nice of a city it was. So whenever I seen it, I probably wouldn't have been as shocked as a random person who had only heard about Romania and never actually been to visit. And whenever I said coming over here, how helpful and how nice, tidy, and stunning some of the places are over here. Extremely cheap to live. The bang for your buck you get is crazy. So everything like that has just worked out the best for me.
So how long's the contract you've got over there?
So it's a 2+1.
Okay.
Yeah. So obviously, all being well, I stay on, and after that I sign again. Would be my current plan. I've enjoyed it that much so far. I've been more than happy to. And like, there is obviously, I am a bit older, but in 5 years you would be technically remaining qualified, and the last stage I'd be 33. And with how my body is at the minute, there was obviously more opportunities to hopefully come from that, and something like that would be a goal for me long term too. I guess the here and now is about really adding to Dynamo, and I guess push beyond where we are currently. And you might have heard before me speak about the Challenge Cup as one of the reasons why it attracted me to come over here, to be part of, I guess, a team that's currently not situated in that level, but has ambition to get there. And I think in rugby you have all different kinds of opportunities and goals to win things and do X, Y, and Z, but there's not many players that come across and one do win things, but to be able to be part of a club that comes from below the highest leagues to then challenge in the European rugby would be such a good story for me in my career.
I was just about to ask you that, actually, because obviously you got a few appearances for Ireland under 20. You've obviously you're Scottish qualified as well. Is the target to still try and get a few international caps under your belt, and potentially eventually with Romania, if you manage to do the 5 years plus, is that the intention? I know it's probably of every rugby player, but do you think that's still an opportunity you're going to have presented to you?
I guess 5 years is a long time away, but I don't think there's any rugby player out there in the world who, if they're offered a chance to play international rugby, is ever going to turn it down. So my main focus right now, like I said, is trying to be part of and add to Dynamo to get them to the objective, which is a team that can compete in the Challenge Cup. And I believe if I'm able to do that, that'll result in hopefully getting closer to the 5 years, and playing well will obviously give me an opportunity to represent an international level. So there's a long way to go, and it's a long process. But again, it's every rugby player's dream to play international rugby. So we keep the head down, and if that opportunity comes to you, of course, I'll grab it.
Yeah, it'd be amazing, wouldn't it? 33 is not that old even in rugby now, is it? Obviously, with the amount of aftercare that players are afforded to, and by the sounds of it, you're well equipped over in Dynamo as well, with a plethora of other opportunities to recover and stuff like that as well. And it'd be an exciting journey to follow, mate. Do you have you had a chance to see much of the Romanian sort of international team? Obviously, they're going over to, I think they're playing Chile and stuff like that in the summer. Are the lads sending you the link to watch when you're there, or have you managed to?
From our team, I think there was 3 called up. However, I think one might be injured. I'm not too sure what the situation with that, but obviously that they're away games. So I think in the summer, obviously a massive opportunity to sit down with the boys here and watch the Romanian games with them, or go out to a pub and see what the culture is like that in terms of following the national team.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how our boys get on at that level, and hopefully they play at home again soon. I'll get down to those games to actually see what it's like in person, because I've never experienced. I was actually in 2021. I was part of this Scotland summer squad that were meant to go and play Georgia and Romania. So that was cancelled with COVID. So it actually would have been a funny story if obviously the link for to play against Romania. I've never actually watched, apart from the World Cup. Obviously, they were in the same group as Ireland, Scotland, and South Africa, so they had a hard enough World Cup pool. But I think if they play out here at the Arc, I'll definitely get out to cheer our boys on anyway and see how they get on.
It's a pretty impressive stadium. If it's the same stadium they opened up the Rugby Europe Championships against Germany as well. It was a Friday night lights game. They seem to like a game on a Friday in Romania. It seems to be a fairly normal thing. But obviously they've got the Rugby Europe Super Cup coming up as well, which has got the Romanian Wolves in, which is, I think, it's a mixture of multiple players available. Has anyone sort of mentioned that, or is that one of them you're going to have to see what comes up? I think that's sort of a October time Rugby Europe Super Cup, where they get basically a club-based version of the Romanian players together to try and take on the likes of Black Lions. But the rumblings I'm hearing that they're not going to be around in that tournament any longer, because they're off to try and find a league that they can play regular rugby in. Has anyone mentioned the Wolves to you yet?
Yeah, so what I've, I guess, learned about Wolves is, so what was interesting whenever I looked at my season calendar was there's probably only 20 games in our season in terms of Denmark. And the reason because of that is, one, with the weather conditions, it's really cold in the winter and really hot in the summer. Obviously, we can't fill games there. And then also in that break in October, November time, the Romanian Wolves come around, who, again, from what I get, is players who are about to be eligible for Romania, along with young players who are Romanian qualified in the game time, and then maybe senior players who have come back from injury, and that sort of amalgamates the squad. Now, obviously, I'm 4 and 8 months out of being 4 years, 8 months out of being Romanian qualified, so I don't think I would tick that box.
No.
But I guess with the little game time I've played over the last couple of years, if they came to me and was like, look, we'd like you to give it a crack in this year, and it's a bit of a higher level against teams across, obviously, is it Spain, Georgia, and elsewhere, and travel around doing that for a couple of months, I wouldn't be hesitant against it either, but one way or the other, it'll be either doing that or else I'll have a very long off season, so it's probably win-win either way.
How would you cope with that? Such a long off season, because you're not used to that. Well, obviously you're in camp. If you're not playing, you're still sort of part of it when you're in the URC and the likes. What's the plan? Have they still got you in camp, or are you just sort of free to go and explore again? Or how does that long break work? Because does that long break go all the way through to the end of the Rugby Europe Championships again? Or is there another period of games in between? Or
So I obviously haven't been through it yet. And obviously Hoggy's came in as a head coach new this season too. So I'm not 100% sure on his plans where he'll do it. From what I do get is, so if you're losing players to the Rugby Europe Super Cup and the Romanian World, your squad size is probably going to half. So there's probably only about 15 or 16 players left. So what you can actually do with that group is probably pretty limited.
Yeah.
And then you ask what they get 8 to 10 weeks off, and then they come in for a pre-season. So there, I get 3 weeks off there just recently. Now most teams in the URC will probably be getting 6 if they aren't in the finals now.
Okay.
So obviously this was a mid-season break for me, so it was quite strange only having the 3, but to obviously know that extended break's coming, which is longer than I've probably had before, is quite rewarding to know that obviously you work hard now, you've got quite a bit of time off to then go and I guess pick options, whether that be that I do travel for a bit and then come back, or I look at the potential of going in and training with a club. And staying for that way, and I guess keeping my eyes sharp if any opportunities like that come up, and then obviously go back for the pre-season. There'll be different things, I guess, at the time, which I'll look at and see what's going to be most beneficial for, I guess, me coming back into Bucharest as the best player I can be with that extended break off.
I was going to say, do they sort of loan you out like they do in obviously America, football and that, and the MLS? They sort of have the off season and players disappear off to the Prem or into Europe for a bit. Is that something that would interest you, or do you fancy just actually having a break as a rugby player and think, right, I've done that hard season, I've got a 5-year plan that I want to put on a Romanian shirt. I don't want to bust me bollocks in the first season. Is that what's the mindset there?
I guess it'll probably come to it a bit closer at the time, but we're sitting by, and Hoggy, our head coach, might watch this and be like, Adam says he's getting 8 to 10 weeks off, we'll give him 2 off. And he brings us in 5 months pre-season. So I don't want to get ahead of myself too much there, but until I figure out what that will actually look like. But again, it would depend on the opportunity, what makes sense at the time, and if it does make sense for me to get a bit more game time and the Hoggy thinks that's the right thing and the club thinks the right thing, we do that. Or if it's just reset, you've had a long year. Technically, I've been going for probably, this will be month 13 now, and by the time that I do get an extended break, I'll probably be 17, 18 months maybe. So it would be quite a long season. But we'll look at that opportunity whenever it comes, but I'm definitely not the person just to turn something down because I don't fancy it. I'll have a good look at it and see if it makes sense and go that way.
Some of the All Blacks, they disappear off and go and play for their grassroots clubs when they started. What was your first club you ever started at? Where did it all begin?
The first club was Randallstown Rugby Club, and honestly, so I played there until I was 18. So I didn't play rugby at school. I came from a footballing school. So I played there trained there once a week on a Wednesday and played for the club on Saturday. And genuinely, if it wasn't for them, the grassroots level and the people there, I don't think I would have enjoyed my rugby enough to keep going, or to had the motivation to get to the standard where I'm at. Because that was always my, I guess, driver, was to pay that back of what they all put in me. And I still go down in pre-season. They do tag rugby, go down there and play. And my last year at Ulster, I coached their first for the season, which was great. So I absolutely loved my time there. And if there was an opportunity to go play for them, I would take that with 2 hands. But I don't know if I'd be able to play at their level at the minute. But hopefully they keep going. And I'd love one day anyway to go out there and pull on the red and white, actually the same colour as Dynamo. It would be great for me and play with some boys that I played with.
Grassroots is obviously one of the big things that we try to promote as part of the podcast and stuff, to to make sure that part of the game keeps growing. But obviously, if you can't get to the top of the game, the rest of it doesn't grow alongside. And it's always interesting to hear the journey that players that have made it pro from where they've started as well, because it's usually down to that one coach or that one decision to be able to get into that club that has put them wherever it is. And what's your favourite moment to have ever been playing for them? Because obviously, I'm sure you moved on before. Obviously, once you got into the Ultra Academy and stuff, there was a certain time that you probably. But what was the one memory that sticks out for you there?
So we were playing in the Under-18 Cup semi-final, and it was in the weekend where there was an Irish Under-18s training camp, which I was involved in, and my coach asked for the game to be moved, and this club we were playing refused to move it purely for that reason.
Yeah.
So anyway, they played a game without me, and at that level, you have to have playing cards. Your playing cards.
Yeah.
Every player to say that they're registered, and everything all the same. And there's massive arguments with coaches at the end. And anyway, this team we were playing didn't have their playing cards, so I went to the branch. The team that beat us in the semi-final, who didn't move the fixture originally, got kicked out. So we made it to the final. Played at Kingspan. I was back. Great day out. We didn't win the final, but to be there group was unbelievable. That's one of the best memories I have.
They try to play it dirty by not moving it, and then ended up shagging themselves with a bit of admin. That's rugby for you at times, isn't it? It's that's a great story. So you mentioned Hoggy. That's not Stuart Hogg, is it? Hoggy that's over there with you, or
it's not? No.
No, I was going to say. I thought.
Yeah, that's Carl Hogg. Funny enough, I think they're from the same area. So Carl Hogg would be from Melrose originally.
Yeah.
He spent maybe 15 years at Gloucester. He's been at Ospreys, DOR at Worcester at the time. Been involved in the Scotland national setup. So he's been around and experienced a lot of things. But he's a good man to have out here. We've got him, and then Alex Jordan is English S&C too. He spent a bit of time with the Romanian national team too. So obviously to have that link in terms of English and Scottish and Irish in the setup is obviously, for me, it's quite homely in a way. They've been great to me since I came out and made me fit in really well. So I've definitely that aspect too.
How did they ended up there then? Did they sort of get the same opportunity as you, or did they thought, right, I actually want to be part of something that's growing? Have you sort of chatted to them about that, or did you know them beforehand? Or
I didn't know them beforehand, and obviously whenever I came over, you don't ask too deeply what their obviously motivation is around it. But from what I get from Hoggy is, it's like you said, for him to come over and, like, in terms of it's a completely different challenge. One as a player, and I can only imagine what it's like as a coach, because, like, obviously back home the structures and the policies and regulations were all set up, and the background takes care of itself.
Yeah.
Like, Hoggy would have so much to deal with in terms of trying to bring what he obviously has as a plan over here, because things are done different and you just have to adapt. But trying to change things to make it better is then obviously where the challenge lies.
Yeah.
And that's a massive part of his job, while he's obviously taking defence, forwards units, being head coach, trying to develop youngsters. So
wow,
you can imagine where he'll sit in his plate is massive. So I guess that's a completely different challenge, because what works back home doesn't necessarily work here.
Yeah.
You have to find a different way, and it's the same as a player. Like I said, like, you could do everything best practice that you thought you were taught back home, but you have to do something a bit different over here to actually be effective to play the game. So I guess then with AJ too, it's the opportunity to come over, be involved in as a young S&C coach in a internationally with Rugby Romania, be involved with the international team, to come into the club team where it's playing at a decent level is obviously great for him to experience that while being away from home too.
Yeah, I can imagine that must be an amazing experience, because on the last episode, so we had Ben Herring on, who used to play for Leicester Tigers, and does the Coaching Culture podcast with, he had like Eddie Jones on and stuff like that already. And he was saying the best challenge he ever made was going to Japan to start his sort of coaching career properly. So he started in Leicester after he'd retired, after he had his concussion and stuff. And then he sort of went to Japan because it was just something, the first thing that was available. We obviously joked about the money was worthwhile as well. So he jumped at the opportunity there. But he said he went there thinking, right, I'm going to try and do this, this and this. And he tried to then take the Leicester way with him. And he soon realised that didn't work. He said, because it was a completely different culture. He said it was the best thing I could ever do as a coach really early on, because it taught me to understand more than just doing the technical side. I had to learn all the other bits. And that must be a similar situation to what you have to do as well as a player, and also other coaches that go over there. There is that language barrier. There's certain bits that you'd expect of your teammates back in England or back in the URC and stuff, but you have to try and get that across in a different manner. How does that work? Have you got a certain set of calls, or is it just a case of you've learned the Romanian for those calls, or everyone just does English, or is it numbers, colours? How does it work?
I think it's a bit of both, and I would say it's not necessarily the language that would be the issue. It's figuring out that everyone has a different background, and culturally it's different to what you'd be used to in the UK and Ireland. So like I said before, with your mate going to Japan, the coach is like, culturally that's completely different, and how they approach things, they've all been taught that is that you're the outsider. Don't think that because you know something in the wrong, it's actually like, how can you actually learn what they're thinking and then be able to challenge it in a way that's beneficial to the group, rather than coming in and being like, this is what I know, this is how we should do it, and that's it. It's asking questions. It's my first thing whenever I went over there. I said, for the first 8 weeks, if I played it, I buy a crap, but I get respect out of the boys.
Yeah,
that's actually a big success to me than going over there being like, this is how you do things, this is how I'm doing it, and that's it. Actually earning the respect out of the Romanians and the playing group in those first few weeks was so important to me that the playing almost came second. Because if I come over there and they think I'm a dickhead, I'll probably get the door quicker than I would if I couldn't hit a line out, you know. So there's a massive part of that, and that's what I'm learning, is that like, you obviously, whenever you're with different clubs, you realise it was different ways to skin a cat, and yes, but in some sort of way it's similar. In the URC or the Prem or what it is, it's all, there's some sort of outside thinking, but it's all towards a similar sort of plan or structure. Over here it can be completely different, and you just have to at times keep your mouth shut and think and talk later rather than talk in the moment. Think about what they're thinking behind the scenes and the reason why they believe that something should be done a certain way, and then challenge it in an appropriate way, or have a word and decide and be like, how can we come to sort of a medium on how we do things.
What is the biggest cultural difference that you've come across since you've moved there?
I guess the passion. So it's a bit cliche, but like, whenever they believe in something, if you know what I mean. It's like, there was almost that you have to let them not cool down, but there's no point trying to have an argument with it or a discussion. It's because whenever they play, you see it in all the collisions, and you feel it in all the collisions once you receive it. It's a bit of that for us, I guess. You say obviously you have pride to play for a team, but there's like, it's almost steam out the ears at times. So it's about being able to like understand like how proud they are to, one, play for Romania, or two, play for Dynamo. And like, yes, you may think that you want to challenge someone to do it, but actually just letting them let off all that steam could actually be better for the team, rather than trying to actually calm it down in a way. So that's probably the biggest cultural difference. The food too, obviously, but apart from that, it's definitely the passion.
Yeah, that must be hard as well, because coming from sort of England, Scotland, Ireland, you used to be able to put your point across and have that discussion, and sometimes it turns to fisticuffs if needed, and then it must be quite difficult just to sort of just stand back, leave them to deal with what they, because that's probably the easiest way to lose the respect, as you said. If that's the crucial part, is to get that buy-in from them to then understand that what you're trying to put a point across later down the line is probably of benefit to them, rather than just some jumped up English, Irish, Scottish geezers turned up trying to tell you this is how we play rugby over there. They're like, yeah, that's cool, but like, this is rugby here.
And that's what I guess like I said to you, I still have a lot to learn off them about how to play rugby in this league. And that's the important thing too, is that that I really want to learn what they think is the best way of doing things here, and being able to, whenever you go to other clubs in the UK or Ireland, you're trying to piece together the best parts of each club to then make you a complete player. And that's the same over here. Is yes, I've learned X, Y, and Z, but over here it's completely different. That I actually need to pick up on other parts of my game, which if I add them and do things a wee bit different, I can actually add to the team and perform better. So again, I'm picking their brains as much as at times they'll be picking mine, and it's just about making sure that both ways, the respect and being able to understand each other and speak to each other in the manner which both of you understand is an important part. And the more I learn the language, the more respect I get from playing. Everything that comes across, you get closer off the pitch, then you can have those conversations that it doesn't matter what you say. Everyone knows that there's no hard feelings with it. And it's getting to that stage, because back home, you obviously have 4 or 5 of your best mates you can say anything to, and it doesn't really matter. They know that you're obviously taking the piss, or else you're being genuine about, like, this is what needs to be done. Yeah. But over there, it's about finding that with everyone and putting the cultural differences together to do that.
What a time to do it, though, as well. As you said, obviously going over there at 28, you're at your prime of your career, at the opportunity you can go and throw yourself into that situation as well. That must be something your mates must have thought you're mental, but you've probably sit back and think, actually, this is probably one of the better things I could do in life. Like, we moved to Spain as well, right in the middle of, obviously, our kids are still really young, and it was the best thing we ever did to go and explore another culture for them and for us as a family. And for you to have that opportunity at 28 still must be really refreshing.
And that's like you said, you moving across to Spain is something that I think we live in a world now where, like, so many people are used to the norm. Whereas, and if you step out of that, you're seen as like almost an outsider. But if you actually look at it, like, you're living your best life. Yeah. Like me over here, I couldn't be happier in terms of experiencing something new. And there's one day where we're 50, 60, where we won't be able to have opportunities like this here to go across. Yeah. And like, to be able to have the conversations about what you experienced while you could is so important to me. And I'm sure to be able to give that to your kids is something that is much better than staying around the same place and not getting out of your comfort zone. There's plenty of time for sitting around whenever you're old, grey and bald, but for now you might as well explore things.
Yeah, exactly that. So I'm going to leave it on this last one then, right? So obviously you've been around a little while now. Who's the best player you've ever been able to play the game with or against on the same pitch?
I'd say with was probably Bill Mata or Charles Piatow. With.
Wow. Charles Piatow, what a player. Is he as good in real life as he looks on the telly?
I think at times, I remember whenever I was playing with him, we had a play that was, I'll never forget it, it's like, you've seen it before, it was a classic Joe Smith play. It was like a 2-phase return. Yeah. And then Charles would come back in at the ruck. And you've seen teams use it before, where the props usually stand out in the ruck and he folds round and then the fullback comes through. Yeah. Playing that game was like playing rugby away in beginner mode. Whenever you give the balls a Charles, it was just straight through every single time. And you knew as soon as you won the line out through the ball, and that was a play, it was going to be very close to a try, if not a try. So
that must be quite handy to have in your locker every time, knowing that you haven't got to chase after him as well, probably, because he's already dealt with it.
100%. That was good to have.
Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, and I'm sure there's another revisit a bit further down the line once you've got yourself a little bit more embedded into Romania. But I just want to say thank you for your time, mate. Really appreciate you jumping on and sort of showcasing a little bit of Romanian rugby to everyone that hasn't had the look in yet.
No, that's great. Thanks for having me, and I hope you enjoy your time in Spain, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, 100%. For everyone that wants to keep abreast of everything we're doing on Rugby TTL, make sure you comment, like, follow, subscribe. We're on all the social media platforms. For many more guests coming up. We've got Hugh Griffin on the next one to talk for a line special, and we've also got Mario Bacardi, the Spain captain, coming on in a couple of weeks' time. So make sure you follow on and get yourself following Adam as well on Instagram and everything. He's got some good photos of his holidays, and obviously you also get to keep abreast of everything in Romania as well. So thank you and goodbye.